Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to think about the most meticulously detailed 5-year plan you've ever made.
Oh, everyone has one.
Right, like the color-coded calendar, the financial milestones, the exact career trajectory, you know the one.
Yeah, you had it all completely mapped out,
Exactly. Now, I want you to think about the precise moment that it completely fell apart.
which it always does.
Always. Because today we are doing a deep dive into this ancient wisdom that basically argues your perfectly engineered roadmap isn't just fragile, but it might actually be blinding you to reality.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is that when we examine this ancient text, specifically Proverbs 16,
Mm.
we are looking at a profound psychological and spiritual framework.
And it's old.
Oh, it predates modern behavioral science by millennia. Like, I want you to picture this backdrop of ancient, hand-drawn star charts, right?
Huh?
And then imagine them slowly blending into the glowing, data-driven grid of a modern cityscape.
Wow, that's a cool visual.
It really highlights how the core tension is identical. We have this relentless human drive to engineer our own destiny versus the ultimate reality of, well, divine guidance.
Right, because we think we're in charge.
Exactly. And this text, it isn't some rigid list of transactional rules. It's not like,
Yeah.
input good behavior, automatically get a shiny reward.
Right.
It's a lens for navigating life.
Mm.
It shows us that while we are totally obsessed with conquering our external world, true wisdom is recognizing our inherent limits. It's about valuing internal character far above near achievement.
And to really grasp why this framework is so disruptive for you today, whether you're, I don't know, navigating a massive corporate merger or figuring out your career
Or
path.
just trying to manage your family's chaotic schedule.
Yeah, exactly. We have to start with the single most universal human habit, which is our absolute obsession with planning.
Oh, we are undeniably a planning species.
We really are.
I mean, we crave certainty, right? Our brains are literally wired to seek out patterns that give us the illusion of predictability.
We love the spreadsheet. We love the feeling of being in the driver's seat. And this ancient text addresses that exact instinct right out of the gate. But it sets up a massive contrast
It really does.
because it essentially states in verse 9 that a human being will map out their course in their heart, but it's the Lord who actually directs the steps.
Yeah.
Like there is a total disconnect between the internal preparations we make and the final outcome that actually materializes.
Right. And that disconnect highlights what psychologists call the illusion of control.
The illusion of control.
Yeah, in the ancient world, they understood that success wasn't merely the product of, like, a clever strategy. They openly acknowledged a higher sovereign hand in their outcomes.
Unlike us.
Totally unlike us. Today, we're insulated by predictive algorithms,
Yeah.
massive data sets, technology. We trick ourselves into believing we actually hold the steering wheel.
Right. We build the retirement portfolio or we write the business model and we assume the outcome is just, guaranteed.
Until it isn't.
Yeah, until a sudden market shift or an unforeseen global event or a random health crisis hits.
And the entire landscape is altered.
Yeah,
Just overnight.
which makes me think of the modern GPS on your phone.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. You punch in your desired destination and you get this sleek, efficient blue line on the screen.
Yep.
That's your plan. You think you're navigating. But God, in this framework, operates as the overarching traffic algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
You are staring at the dashboard, completely blind to what's 3 miles ahead. The algorithm is constantly rerouting you, sometimes forcing you off the smooth, fast highway.
Onto the bumpy dirt road.
Exactly, the
Mhm.
frustrating dirt road. And it's doing that specifically to bypass a massive hazard or a pileup that you simply do not have the vantage point to see.
Yeah, and that difference in vantage point is the critical mechanism there. Because the ancient wisdom isn't condemning the act of planning.
Right, you still have to put the address in the GPS.
Setting the destination is still a necessary action. The practical application here is maintaining extreme flexibility when the algorithm inevitably reroutes you.
It's definitely going to reroute you.
Oh, absolutely. But, there's a much more uncomfortable layer to this dynamic.
Okay.
It isn't just about our external plans being interrupted. It's about our internal self-perception being fundamentally flawed.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the wisdom literature, like in verse 2, notes that a person's ways always seem clean or pure in their own eyes. But it's the underlying spirit, the motive, that is actually being weighed by the divine.
Oh, man. Clean in our own eyes. That is a tough pill to swallow.
It is?
Because, we are all the heroes of our own stories. I can justify literally any decision I make if I spin the narrative the right way in my own head.
We all do it.
Mm.
Modern behavioral science calls it confirmation bias and self-serving bias.
Right.
But the ancients simply called it being blind to your own motives. You see this play out in corporate leadership constantly.
Oh, sure.
An executive might, ruthlessly slash a department, devastating hundreds of families, and convince himself it's a necessary maneuver for the greater good of the company's survival.
Right. The PR spin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Outwardly, the action looks like decisive, strong leadership. Inwardly, the motive might just be securing a massive year-end bonus.
Wow.
And this text insists that God bypasses the PR spin and evaluates the raw intention.
The motive is the actual foundation. I mean, you can execute the absolute right strategic move for a completely toxic reason, and it ultimately rots the outcome.
Perfectly said.
And if our inner sincerity and our hidden motives matter far more than our perfectly executed spreadsheets, then we really have to tear down and rebuild our definition of what success actually looks like.
Yeah, and that redefinition becomes absolutely crucial when the pressure drops.
Why is that?
Because maintaining a polished image of success is effortless when the market is up and your plans are coming to fruition.
Sure.
The internal reality is exposed the second the GPS recalculates and everything falls apart.
Which brings us to the stark contrast the text draws between external power and internal discipline. There's a reason this ancient text coined the phrase we still use today about pride coming before a fall.
Or a haughty spirit before destruction.
Right. It makes this massive claim in verse 16 that acquiring wisdom and understanding is vastly superior to accumulating silver and gold.
And we watch that play out in real time on the news every single week.
We really do.
Unchecked pride and a refusal to listen to counsel, they lead to spectacular implosions in politics and business.
Yeah.
Leaders who achieve incredible revenues through unethical practices, they inevitably face legal ruin, reputational collapse, and deep personal misery.
Because long-term stability simply cannot be built on an unethical or prideful foundation.
Exactly.
But here's where it gets really interesting, though. I have to push back on this a little bit because it sounds beautiful in a philosophical sense. But let's look at the real world.
Do it.
Our modern culture does not celebrate the quiet, emotionally regulated person. We idolize the aggressive conqueror.
That's very true.
We celebrate the ruthless tech innovator who, moves fast and breaks things no matter who gets hurt.
Right.
We applaud the hostile corporate takeover, the person who flips the table, dominates the negotiation, and crushes the competition, gets the billion-dollar valuation and the magazine cover.
They do.
Yet this ancient wisdom makes a radically countercultural claim in verse 32. It says, the person who simply controls their temper is better than the mighty.
Yeah.
And the one who rules their spirit is stronger than someone who conquers a city. How can that possibly be true when all the real-world data seems to show the aggressive conqueror winning?
Well, this raises an important question about human nature and what we fundamentally perceive as power.
Okay, unpack that.
Think about it. Conquering a city, or executing a hostile takeover, or dominating a political debate that relies on raw talent, aggression, and visible force.
Right, it's loud.
It's very loud. And it provides an immediate, intoxicating dopamine hit for both the conqueror and the spectators.
People love a show.
They applaud because the conquest is visible. But ruling your own spirit, that happens entirely in the invisible architecture of your mind.
Wow. Yeah.
Nobody throws you a parade for not sending a highly articulate but incredibly toxic, passive-aggressive email at 2 in the morning.
Even though we've all drafted that email.
Oh, we've all drafted it. But nobody cheers when you take a deep breath and choose a measured, empathetic response instead of lashing out at an employee who made a mistake.
Right.
But the fundamental psychological truth here is that raw talent and aggressive power are incredibly brittle without emotional self-mastery.
So it's like a Formula One car.
Okay, I like that.
You can have a 1,000-horsepower engine representing that raw talent and relentless drive, but if you don't have world-class brakes, the emotional regulation, that immense power doesn't make you a champion. It just guarantees you are going to crash violently at the very first sharp turn.
And probably take a lot of people down with you.
Exactly.
That perfectly illustrates the mechanism. The engine gets all the attention and the sponsorships, but the brakes are what actually keep you alive and keep you in the race.
Yeah.
And the text also delves into the physiological impact of this regulation. Like in verse 24, it highlights that pleasant words are like a honeycomb, bringing sweetness to the soul and health to the bones.
Health to the bones.
Modern biology confirms this deeply.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah. When you engage in positive, disciplined communication, it literally reduces cortisol levels. It lowers blood pressure and fosters psychological safety in your environment.
That makes total sense.
Unchecked anger and impulsive reactions, on the other hand, flood the body with stress hormones that physically damage the cardiovascular system over time.
Not to mention destroying the trust in your relationships.
Exactly. So while blunt force might temporarily take the city, the humility and intense self-awareness required to rule your spirit represent a far more sustainable and ultimately greater display of human strength.
Okay, so logically, we know we need the brakes.
Right.
We understand the biology of it. But let's be honest. On a Tuesday morning, when the server crashes, the kids are screaming, the bank account is low, and your meticulously planned schedule is up in flames.
It's chaos.
It's chaos. Letting go of control and staying calm feels almost impossible. It triggers something deep inside us that makes us want to grip the steering wheel even tighter.
Because you are fighting your own biology.
Really?
Yeah. When we lose control of a situation, our brain's amygdala literally processes that uncertainty as a physical threat.
Oh, wow.
We go into fight or flight mode. Yielding control isn't just a gentle spiritual exercise.
Yeah.
It requires overriding a deeply ingrained survival mechanism.
So it's hardwired.
It's hardwired.
Ah.
And you cannot successfully override that instinct to fight for control
Yeah.
unless you have absolute confidence in who you are yielding that control to.
And that is the massive pivot point here.
Yes.
If our internal radar is that broken and our plans are that fragile, who is catching us when we let go? Because if I'm just throwing my carefully made plans into the chaotic, empty void of the universe and hoping for the best, that doesn't bring peace.
No, not the point.
That just brings nihilism and way more anxiety. But the ancient wisdom points to a very specific relational surrender. It instructs us in verse 3 to commit our works to the Lord with the promise that our thoughts will then be established. And it wraps up by noting that even the casting of lots is entirely disposed by the Lord.
Let's clarify what casting lots actually means in that context, because it's vital to understanding this.
Yeah, explain that.
In the ancient Near East, casting lots was essentially the equivalent of rolling dice or flipping a coin to make a major, seemingly unresolvable decision.
Like leaving it to chance.
Right, but they believed that even the physics of that random toss, like how the stones tumbled through the air and exactly where they landed, were entirely governed by divine intent.
Oh.
It's a profound acknowledgement that absolutely nothing falls outside of sovereign jurisdiction. The text also states that the Lord has made all things for himself, pointing to a grand, intentional design behind all the chaos.
And we desperately need that grand design because our individual perspective is so incredibly limited.
It really is.
I mean, there's that chilling warning in verse 25 that there is a way that seems right to a man, but the end of it leads to death.
Yeah.
We are down in the maze. We think we clearly see the exit. We accelerate toward it, but it's actually a dead end.
Which brings us right back to the amygdala and the sheer stress of trying to maintain control.
Because we think it's all on us.
When you believe you are the sole architect of your universe, you bear the unbearable weight of every potential failure. You are responsible for navigating the maze flawlessly, which is honestly impossible.
Yes. It makes me think about the modern work environment.
Oh, definitely.
Living life relying solely on your own understanding is like living as a perpetually stressed out solo entrepreneur.
That is a great way to put it.
Right. You wake up every single day knowing that every wrong turn, every market fluctuation, every missed opportunity, and every single failure rests 100% on your shoulders.
Which is just an exhausting, anxiety-inducing way to exist.
Completely. But committing your works to the Lord, that is like waking up and realizing you actually work for a brilliant, infinitely benevolent CEO.
Oh, I love that.
The CEO calls you into the office and says, look, just do your honest work with integrity. Use the brakes on your temper. Treat your coworkers right. Use those pleasant words, and I'll handle the macroeconomy.
Right.
I will handle the ultimate outcomes. So what does this all mean? It means the burden of destiny is completely lifted off your shoulders.
It is an immense psychological and spiritual relief.
Yes.
The transition of that burden changes everything. Recognizing our human limitations ceases to be a crushing defeat and instead becomes an invitation to intimacy with the divine.
I love that phrasing. An invitation to intimacy. Walk us through how that actually alters the day-to-day reality of someone's faith when they hit a crisis.
Well, when you operate under the delusion of total control, Your relationship with God typically defaults to a cold transaction.
Like a vending machine.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's like, I put in the hard work, I follow the moral rules, now you owe me the specific success I mapped out.
Right.
Or, alternatively, you ignore the divine entirely because you think you are totally self-sufficient.
Which a lot of people do.
But when you hit the wall, when you admit that your own internal radar is fundamentally flawed, and that the path that seems right to you might actually lead to ruin,
Yeah.
trusting God's direction becomes a vital, life-saving safety net. You aren't just blindly adhering to a list of ancient statutes. You are relying on a dynamic, living relationship.
Because you trust the character of the CDO, to go back to the analogy.
Yes.
You trust the intelligence of the routing algorithm even when it points you onto a dark, totally unfamiliar road.
Precisely.
Mm.
The relationship deepens exponentially when we stop fighting a tyrannical turf war for control over our own lives.
It is a turf war, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And we start to understand that the divine director values our internal integrity, our mercy, and our reverence far more than our external conquests.
Mm.
The text highlights that by mercy and truth, iniquity is purged, and by the reverence of the Lord, people depart from evil. It's about a relational alignment of the heart with God, not a mechanical achievement of earthly goals.
Which totally redefines the metric for what constitutes a good day.
Completely.
A successful day isn't inherently the day I closed the huge deal or bought the house or perfectly executed my 5-year plan.
Nope.
A successful day is a day I operated with deep integrity, used the brakes on my pride, spoke kindly to my family, and trusted that whatever external outcome materialized was safely held by someone who sees the entire map.
And internalizing that realization makes you incredibly resilient.
How so?
Because when your plans inevitably fail, and if you live long enough, they will absolutely fail.
Yeah, they will.
You do not shatter. Your core identity isn't destroyed. You simply take a breath, quiet the amygdala, and recognize that the overarching algorithm is rerouting you.
Yeah.
The toss of the dice is governed by a steady hand. You maintain profound internal peace because your foundation isn't built on the fragile, temporary success of your own engineering.
That takes us right back to the beginning of our deep dive today.
It does.
That pristine, perfectly drawn, linear roadmap to success. The 10-step plan that guarantees you the promotion, the wealth, and the perfect life.
It's an illusion.
It is a total myth, and frankly, it is exhausting trying to keep up the charade. This ancient framework offers us something vastly richer and far more sustainable.
Yeah.
It reveals that true wisdom isn't about raw intelligence or relentless hustle. It's about unshakable humility. It's the invisible, agonizing work of emotional discipline. And most importantly, it's trusting the ultimate director of our steps to guide us where we actually need to be, even if it's thousands of miles away from where we originally planned to arrive.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the profound truth we have to grapple with is this. True peace doesn't come from perfectly predicting your future or from bullying your circumstances into submission.
Right.
It comes from fully trusting the one who holds that future, especially in those terrifying moments when your carefully laid plans fall completely apart.
And so the GPS is recalculating, the ancient star charts are shifting above our modern cities, and the ultimate question remains for you. How will you apply this information in your life?